Okay, so this is a book I have had for years, and it is probably one of the craziest books I have. It was recommended to me by my old HAP keto instructor, who mentioned this fellow, William E. Fairburn, by name. And, when I say it was my HAP keto instructor, he had a black belt in HAP keto, but what he taught us was what he called Defendo, which was, I think, founded by this guy, Mr. Fairburn, W.E. Fairburn, which was like military self-defense kind of stuff. So, yeah, see? Copyright 1979, originally published 1942. So, World War II, I guess? Anyway. Blows. Number 1, edge of the hand. How to karate chop a guy. The chin jab. And as you can see, this dude is, dressed in Nazi-esque kind of clothes, Deliver this blow with the heel of your hand, full force, with the weight of your body behind it, and fingers spread so as to reach your opponent's eyes. So as you can see, immediately, this is not karate, this is not kung fu, this is, how to win in hand-to-hand fighting, it's funny how many martial arts get confused, Like every martial art is effectively a tool to accomplish a certain, excuse me, it's like a goal to accomplish a certain strategy in a certain situation, And a lot of times people are using the wrong strategy, or they talk about using, I don't know, what. You'll see what I mean as we go along. This is not a book about martial arts per se. This is a book about, when it's a fight to the death, how to be not the dead person, Boot sidekick. See here, he's stomping on his foot, And that's something else. There's a big difference between kicking barefoot and kicking wearing shoes, Stomping on a guy's shin and foot, You should always kick sideways, for you are thus able to put more force behind your blow and can, if necessary, reach farther. So anyway, he's grating down his shin and stomping on his foot. Pretty nasty. Boot defense. So it's the same thing. He's grabbed you and you're stomping on his foot, Grating the edge of your boot down his shin and stomping on his foot. Boot the Bronco kick. Your opponent is lying on the ground. So how to do a jumping stomp, There was a guy years ago in the UFC that tried this. I forget his name. Huge guy. Didn't work out so well. But, on the battlefield, things are different when you're wearing boots and whatnot. Knee, look at this. The knee to the groin. See, and of course, the chin jab, Releases. This is the wrist turn. The guy has you. You are seized by the right wrist. Bend your wrist and arm towards your body. Twist your wrist outwards against your opponent's thumb. So that way. From a wrist, 2 holds. Grab your own hand, pull it inwards. From a stranglehold, see? 1 hand. Guy's got you against the wall, knee him on the balls, smack his arm to the side. Pretty nasty. See, look, here's the armbar that we learned years ago, wake gatame or whatever it's called. Although they do it with the forearm rather than the armpit, The S armbar. Yep. He taught us all this stuff years ago. Pretty nasty. Look at this. From a bear hug, you are gripped around the waist. Number 1, knee your opponent in the testicles. Look at this last one. Seize his testicles with either hand. So you can see the difference here between, say, I don't know, what they'll teach you in a martial art like karate or judo or even jiu-jitsu. No one's going to teach you, although as I recall, Gary Goodridge did this to a guy in one of the no-rules fights in Brazil, the Pedro or something. The world arm wrestling champion, Gary Goodridge, reached into his shorts and squeezed his testicles. And then the guy fell to the ground and gave up. So, proven effective. From a bear hug. Again, he's grabbing the nuts. Arm bar, knee in the face, chin jab, It's funny, these martial arts that are sports, like judo, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, karate, sometimes it's the stuff that is effectively illegal that you should utilize in a fight when it's, a fight to the death, so to speak. Because sometimes something is made illegal because it is too effective. And if it weren't illegal, that's what people would do, Like in mixed martial arts, for example. Why is a poke in the eye illegal? Why is a kick in the groin illegal? Because if it weren't, that's all people would do because it's very effective. And there wouldn't be much of a watchable sport, would it? But, when you're wearing like a, when you're wearing a helmet and boots and stuff and you're fighting a guy and it's, a fight to the death, there are no rules, so you should do what is most effective. Should you not? And again, this is not something you want to do to your grandma at the barbecue because you're having a disagreement over who gets the last slice of cheese, Like, for each, as I said before, there's a situation and a goal. This is a fight to the death, and you don't want to die. That's not the same as, like, Grandma Sutherland is getting a little sassy, What is appropriate for each situation differs. That is what I'm getting at. He's bear hug, arms free, jab him in the chin, bear hug over the arms. If you are wearing a helmet, smash your opponent in the face with it. See? If you're wearing a helmet, whack him in the face. Stamp his feet. Seize him by the testicles with your right or left hand. So, again, maybe a bit different than what you'll be taught at your local taekwondo, karate, judo, jiu-jitsu club, And don't get me wrong. Hey, I'm a big fan of sport martial arts. I've done jiu-jitsu for like 30 years now. I have black belts in taekwondo, a brown belt in judo and stuff. Sport martial arts are fun for exercise, meeting people, But, Anyway, from a bear hug, kick in the face. Bear hug back over the arms. Seize your opponent's testicles. A lot of them involve testicles, You're gripped around the waist. You're gripped around the chest. Oh, look, his pinky. My old instructor used to do that, man. Every class, he would almost break our pinkies. Very painful. From a hair hold. Yeah, we would do this too. Grab the hand and twist to get him on an armbar. Yeah, we did that. It was pretty, the training we did was pretty crazy, actually, in retrospect. Thumb hold. I don't know if this is the thumb hold. Wow. Cup your hands and strike your opponent simultaneously over both ears. This will probably burst one or both eardrums and at least give him a mild form of concussion. It can be applied from the front or from behind. I don't know in what situation you would want to do that, other than, I don't know, war times. See? Thumb hold. That's what's called a come-along, Which has no application to a self-defense situation. In self-defense, you want to escape. A come-along is you're like, arresting the guy and taking him back to, whatever, your compound to question him or whatever. Sentry, see? Sentry hold. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway. Pretty crazy stuff. Japanese stranglehold. You know? That's pretty... I don't know if I'd call it Japanese, but, you know. Japanese stranglehold applied from in front. Same thing, just spin them around, I guess. Handcuff hold. Bent arm hold. Head hold. I mean, bear in mind, this was written in like 1942. They didn't have the benefit of, you know, the knowledge we have today, where we can see what's effective and what's not effective. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'd be putting a guy in a headlock, you know? But whatever. Throws. I'm going to guess this is, you know, pretty... Hip throw. I mean, is that a hip throw? Is that Ogoshi from Judo? No. If anything, I would say that's, what, Osoto Garuma, because he's doing both legs or something. But it'll work, you know? You Steven Seagal the guy across the face, put your leg behind him, he's going down. You know? Wrist throw. We did this a lot back in the day. Twist his wrist and down he goes. Back break. That's like, you know. How do you practice this? How do you practice this? I don't know. I guess you can practice it on your partners, just don't actually break their back, you know? Not the kind of thing that you laugh about later in life, you know what I mean? Remember that time we were training and you broke my back? Ah, yeah. Crazy. Miscellaneous advice. Chair and knife. Right? I don't think I've seen this anywhere else other than this book when someone has a knife. I've seen all kinds of knife defense. But this is the first one where they advise, hey, pick up a chair and maybe smash him in the face with it. You know? Very wise. Matchbox attack. Look at that. You're sitting next to a dude in, like, what is this, like a train or something? He's got a gun on you. You whack him in the face with a matchbox. You are sitting down, say, in a railway coach. Your opponent, who is on your left, sticks a gun in your ribs, holding it in his right hand. Like, this is a situation where maybe the sport of martial arts you've learned aren't effective because you're sitting, the guy has a gun, you know? As I say sometimes, little differences are big differences. You know? Standing versus sitting, armed versus unarmed. The fact you have a freaking matchbox. If you were to put just a matchbox, if you were to drop a matchbox, a little metal box, into octagon, I promise you the UFC would be different. And can you imagine if you dropped a gun into the octagon? Both of you would just immediately sprint to grab the gun. You know? Even putting like a couch in there. Put a couch in the octagon and see what happens. It would mess stuff up. People would be running around it, pushing people over it, you know, pulling springs out of it and stuff. You know? Anyway. And also, I mean, bear in mind, the UFC, it's not a fight to the death. This is like clearly a fight to the death. He's pulling a gun on you. Look at the way he's dressed. He's not there. It's not Halloween, you know? It's a pretty, I say sometimes it's a pretty game on situation, but it's not a game. Smacking the ears. See, they did this earlier in the, you know? That would really hurt, you know? I mean, I've ruptured an eardrum before, and it really sucks. I've never had anybody smack me on the ears from behind, but I can tell you, it would... Wow. Don't do it to yourself to test it out. The art of getting up from the ground. You know? I mean, it's kind of a technical lift, you know? I mean, look at this. You have noted that no holds or locks on the grounds are demonstrated. The reason for this is war. Your object is to kill or dispose of your opponent as quickly as possible and go to the assistance of your comrades. So they're not showing you arm locks or whatever. Yep. Here it also says, there is a vast difference between falling on mats in a gymnasium and falling on a road or rocky ground. Even a roll on a stone or a small stump of a tree, should it press into the kidneys, would certainly put you out of the fight permanently. That is true. So one more thing to bear in mind. You know, people are designed to be on their feet effectively. Getting up from the ground backwards, see? Back roll, stand up. I mean, I don't know if I would do this if the guy's standing right there because he'd kick you in the face, but there was an old fight in Russia where the guy got knocked down, he did a back roll, and the guy was right there and booted him in the head. I think it might have been Igor Vovchanchin that kicked the guy in the head, but whatever. Attack with a small stick or cane. A man without a weapon to defend himself, especially after long exposure, is very likely to give up in despair. It is remarkable what a difference it would make if his morale if he had a small stick or cane in his hand. Now add this to the knowledge that he could, with ease, kill any opponent with a stick, and you will then see how easy it is to cultivate the offensive spirit, which is so essential in present-day warfare. You know? Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Various methods of securing a prisoner. You know, like, I don't think you're going to find this in other books. I don't think you're going to get taught this stuff in judo class. Hey, here's how you tie up a prisoner. You know? Not that it's rocket science how to tie a person up, but here you make him triangle choke a tree till his legs cramp, you know? Breakaways from come-along grips. You know what I mean? Use of the knife. In close quarter fighting, there is no more deadly weapon than the knife. An entirely unarmed man has no certain defense against it, and further, merely the sudden flashing of a knife is frequently enough to strike fear into your opponent, causing him to lose confidence and surrender. You know? There's a lot of stuff online, that, or even a lot of stuff you get shown in this or that class that is trash. Trying to defend against the knife is trying to, like, not get stung by a bee. It's flying around. Hand-eye coordination is insufficient. You know? That being said, I mean, a bee stinging you is not going to kill you. A knife very well could. Anyway, it's showing you the various places you can slash a dude with a knife. Or you can, you know? Anyway. Do you need to learn how to kill a guy with a knife? No. But I mean, if I was going onto the battlefield back in 1942, I would certainly want to have read this book. But those times are now behind us, and modern warfare, who knows if it's anything like this. I certainly don't want to find out. I think it's now more to do with, like, drones. Watch the sky for, you know, the smatchet. What's that, a machete? You know? The psychological reaction of any man when he first takes the smatchet in his hand is full justification for its recommendation as a fighting weapon. Look at that. I don't want to mess with that guy. You know, how to whack a dude with a smatchet. Chop him with it and stuff, you know? Disarming an opponent of his pistol. We practiced this years ago. The guy's pointing it at you. You whack his hand to the side. Bend the gun so it's not pointing at you. You are held up with a pistol and ordered to put your hands up. The fact that you have not been shot on sight, clearly shows that your opponent wants to take you as a prisoner or is afraid to fire, knowing that it will raise an alarm. Lead him to suppose, by your actions, manners, etc., that you are scared to death, and wait until he is close up to you. Provided that all your movements are carried out with speed, it is possible for you to disarm him with at least 10 to 1 chance of success. With at least a 10 to 1 chance of success. I don't know if that's a good chance, but whatever. Better than getting shot in the belly, I guess. You know? Here's another one. Again, quickly take him by the wrist and get out of the line of fire, bend the gun up, and then knee him in the groin. He's behind you, you know. Quickly turn, seize the gun so he can't, you know, point it towards you or whatever, and then whack him in the chin, knee him in the testicles, you know. If the knee blow and chin jab do not make him release his hold of the pistol, go after his eyes with the fingers of your right hand, see? Disarming an opponent of his pistol. Another one. If you turn and the gun is to the side, you know, again, you wrap it and chop him, knee him in the knee, I guess, there, if his testicles aren't available. Disarming an opponent of his pistol. Yeah. It is quite possible that, upon coming around a corner, you find one of your own men being held up, as in figure 1.38. Oh, this is if someone else is being held up. You come up behind him, grab him by the arm and the hand, come up on your opponent's pistol arm, seize his pistol in hand from the underneath, simultaneously coming down hard with your left hand on his arm. Jerk his hand backwards and force his elbow upwards. So this is how to like stop someone from pointing a gun at someone else. So, all right, and that's the end of the book. Look at that. So, pretty crazy.